from all reports, very well, and it was the magical 2-week mark from when we had previously lifted restrictions for people to sort of move outside, and by all reports everyone was very happy with how it went. So fingers crossed, we'll keep going well.
Okay, so how does that affect the time frame for the next round of restrictions to be eased?
Yep, okay, so at the end of the month we will review our borders, and of course we also look at reviewing the biosecurity areas, that is the areas up north around the Cape, and of course where there is Indigenous communities up and down the coast. And of course the Chief Health Officer said that we need to allow a month before we do the next major reform, so that would be of course around mid-June.
Okay, so no change just yet when it comes to the timings. It's just going to be at the end of the month when you review them.
Yes,
okay.
Correct.
All
and
right.
also too, we also made the decision on Friday that all schools go back next Monday. So
okay.
We've got that happening as well. So lots of things happening in Queensland.
Okay, all right. Well, you did mention the borders there, which is interesting because you know, the top ranks of the New South Wales government went after you on the weekend. Premier, you had the Premier, you had the Deputy Premier, you had the Treasurer. It was like the New South Wales front row was after you. So when are you going to reopen the border?
Well, as I said, we review that at the end of each month. It's advice that's given to me from the Chief Health Officer, and whilst there's still community transmission in New South Wales and Victoria, they will remain closed. But let me be very clear, freight is allowed to go backwards and forwards. There's a border pass with our northern New South Wales neighbours, and of course we also have some exemptions for business, and of course if someone has lost a loved one, of course we allow that. But look, I'd love to see our Southerners back here as soon as possible. I know how much Gladys loves her far north Queensland holidays. So I know she might have a bit of a vested interest in starting that little campaign. And I know how much we love having people here to our beautiful beaches, our rainforests and our outback. So is this where I rub it in that it's 25 degrees here at the moment in Brisbane?
Well, I don't blame you for doing that. But I mean, I tell you what, some of the comments, you know, from John Barilaro and whatnot. I mean, did any of that irritate you, or did you, take that in a good way?
Oh, look, they always love a fight with Queensland. We're not quite at the state of origin, but yeah, I've still got those flowers that Brad Fittler sent me the other day, so
right.
I think all's fair in love and footy, isn't it?
Well, it's been said that you might not open the border until September. Is that right?
Well, we review it each month, so let's be clear. We're coming up to our June school holidays, and people will be able to travel. I think it's up to 250 kilometres. Then by July in Queensland, you can travel around Queensland. So then, of course, it makes sense that we would look at those borders in around August, September. So, look, I'm not the Chief Health Officer. So if they say to me, Dr. Young says to me, at the end of this month we can open the border, I'll open the border. But we just have to wait to that end of each month for me to get that health advice.
I guess, but Victoria and New South Wales, just for an example here, the border's open. It hasn't really affected things as far as I can tell. So, I mean, I'm not a health officer, mind you, but why would Queensland be any different?
Well, let me make it very clear. I don't make any apologies for protecting the health of Queenslanders and Queensland families. That's my number one concern. And we have had 2,000 vehicles that have been, roughly 2,000 vehicles that have been turned around of people wanting to come into Queensland, and they've come from what we term a hotspot from New South Wales. Look, we want to make sure that we act on the best possible health advice. Now, Queensland's not the only place, Peter, that has its borders shut. Northern Territory, Western Australia, South Australia and Tasmania. So we're not out here on our own, we're not out here on a limb. So we need to take the health advice, and when that health advice says we can relax that border, we will. And of course, I'll be happy to come down there and promote Queensland as well.
Don't worry about that, Premier. It's too cold down here at the moment. Just a couple of quick ones before we go. The aged care facility in Rockhampton, so far, and I don't want to say that you've dodged a bullet just yet, because 138 tests have come back negative. However, you're still awaiting the results of 37. And as we know, it only takes one for an outbreak. How satisfied have you been about the response so far?
Oh, can I say that the response has been first rate. I know that as soon as the Chief Health Officer was advised that there was a positive case in Rockhampton, she basically sent a squad up from Rapid Response Unit up from Brisbane, as well as the local response on the ground, and it has been first rate. And to have moved, I think it was over 30 residents yesterday with 8 ambulance crews has been phenomenal. So, of course, we're still waiting on those further tests. The Deputy Premier and the Chief Health Officer will be landing there in the next half an hour. They'll be on the ground in Rockhampton and they'll be updating the media further and the community, of course.
That staff member who continued to work there while being ill, what of her? I mean, should she still stay in that position long term?
Look, there'll be an investigation into that, so they'll do a thorough review. Look, I don't know the circumstances, but I think it's a timely reminder for all of us, for everyone, to take personal responsibility for if you are feeling sick at any stage with any symptoms, you must stay home. I mean, this is a new world that we're living in, and you would think that a health professional would know better. But having said that, I think it's upon each and every one of us to follow the health advice. So to all your listeners out there, if you are feeling sick, stay at home and let's do the right thing by one another.
Now, just on a Virgin, Premier, it's down to 4 shortlisted bidders, depending on who you're looking at this morning, 4 on the Australian, 2 on the Australian Financial Review. What does that mean for Queensland's bid?
Yeah, well, Queensland, through our investment arm, QIC, is looking at partnering with one of those consortium to see if we can absolutely keep Virgin and the jobs that it means for Queensland. These are thousands of jobs. The headquarters here in Queensland, I think around 5,000 people. It's really important to have that second airline. And you just talked about tourism. I need that airline to make sure that we can still get competitive prices into regional parts of our state. It's absolutely vital. The mayors have been raising it with me, the communities have been raising it with me, and the staff of Virgin have been raising it with me as well, and they're very uncertain about their future. And it's great to see that a number of consortium are now getting together and they'll go through all that analysis they have to do to work out what is the best path forward for Virgin.
OK, just finally, Jackie Trad, she's got to announce today whether she's going to run in the election. What are you expecting?
Look, that's a matter for her, and that's a matter for the party's going to be deciding everyone's nominations tonight. But I support everyone on my team. Have
you spoken to her recently?
I think I spoke to her at the end of last week.
How's she doing?
Well, I think it's tough for anyone who, I mean, people make big sacrifices when they go into public life. And I think everyone's got to stop and think that people have families as well. And families also take these situations in different ways. And myself, having grown up in a political household, I know how, as a child or a young person, you can take the commentators' views and you can internalise it differently to others. So I just think everyone should show a little bit of respect here that, she has a family and she's done the right thing by herself, by her community and by the government.